Will Boston Brand and the newly resurrected Wesley Dodds be able to uncover the truth of the Nightmare Stone and rescue the DC Universe from the threat of Insomnia? Well, let's hop into the pages of Night Terrors issue number 2 and find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, as we open up on this comic, you'll remember at the end of the last issue, Deadman had actually used a bit of Lazarus resin to resurrect classic JSA member the Sandman, and no, the irony is not lost on me at all that the only person who can help Deadman defeat a guy named Insomnia is another guy called the Sandman. Boston had learned in the previous issue by briefly looking inside Insomnia's own dream that his quest for the Nightmare Stone was somehow tied to an old unclosed case from the Sandman's files. As Wesley explains, he says that case is one of the ones that always kept him up at night. It started simply enough, he thought it was just another regular cult of bored rich a-holes playing with powers they didn't understand. But eventually when he started peeling back the layers, he ended up revealing something much darker and much more sinister. You see, Sandman thought he was stopping a blood sacrifice by the cult, only to realize much too late that the guy on the altar wasn't some innocent victim, he was actually the guy leading the cult, and in fact he was so dedicated to the cause of weaponizing nightmares he took his own life that day. Though in a twist so ironic it would be funny if it wasn't so tragic, all of the other members of this guy's cult just got knocked out by Sandman's gas gun, meaning they couldn't drink the Kool-Aid in enough time for the ritual, meaning their leader was actually the only one who died that day. Sandman took this to mean there wasn't enough life juice for the Nightmare Stone to fully form, though form a little bit it did. Wesley says that on that day he saw the Nightmare Stone, but only for a second before it ended up blinking out of existence, implying that maybe Insomnia has actually been on a wild goose chase this whole time. What's funny about this whole exchange too is that once Deadman gets the information that he needs, he actually offers Sandman the opportunity to go back to his grave because, well, he's Deadman and he knows a thing or two about respecting life and death. But this is Wesley Dodds we're talking about here, an old-timey gumshoes detective, and now that he's got a nose for this brand new mystery, he's gonna sniff it out at any cost. And then maybe while we're at it, we'll have a soda pop and punch a Nazi. Deadman and Sandman don't have to wait too long for their next clue either, as they end up getting a distress call from Mr. Terrific's company sent out by Red Tornado. But more on that in a minute. From there we actually transition on over to Insomnia, who we learn is actually working the very same cult angle our heroes are. Naturally, it's been a long time since the Golden Age and that original blood ritual, and because of that, all of the old members of the cult are long dead, but the son of the leader is actually alive and well and still monkeying around with dream magic. What's he using it for? Just recreating his favorite scenes from Eyes Wide Shut. This guy's wet dream quickly becomes a nightmare too once Insomnia makes the scene to pump him for information, but once again, the villain hits a brick wall as this guy also seems to have no idea what the Nightmare Stone is, let alone where it is. Also, having the rich jerk explode into a rain of coins like this is some sort of really macabre video game also doesn't do much to dissuade my original theory that this Insomnia guy is basically riffing on all of the weaker Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Now, when Deadman and Sandman ultimately manage to make it to Terrific Tech, they get up to speed on everything that's been going on in the rest of the world. The heroes, along with everyone else in the world, are quite literally asleep at the wheel, and it's causing untold amounts of chaos at every corner of the globe, meaning that robot heroes like the Metal Men and anyone else lucky enough to not be affected by the Nightmare Wave have to pick up the slack as best they can, but it's a real uphill battle out there. Want to know more? Go read the tie-ins, or don't. I've read most of them and I haven't felt like I've missed a thing so far. Now, you'll remember in the last issue that Boston Brand had tried to possess Insomnia the same way he possessed everyone else. In doing so, he was able to briefly glimpse inside his own dreams. Well, apparently a part of Insomnia imprinted onto Deadman because now he ends up freaking out and getting another very convenient vision of this guy's past and backstory. As we learned before becoming the superpowered villain known as Insomnia, this guy was, well, just a regular old dude with chronic insomnia seeking treatment at Arkham Tower. Treatment that he never really got in any meaningful way, but at least he got to meet a lot of fun supervillains along the way like John D. This flashback does perhaps end up shedding a little light on Insomnia's weird hatred of superheroes, as overhead he sees a news broadcast talking about the hero's return at the end of Dark Crisis. He starts freaking the hell out, saying that it's so deeply unfair that superheroes always get to be resurrected and that death never really holds them for long, unlike the rest of people, and then he ends up getting tranked by the orderlies. I mean, that's one way to put him to sleep for sure. Before Boston Brand can even fully decompress and understand this flashback, the entirety of Terrific Tech ends up going dark and coming under attack by Insomnia's chosen generals, who, in case you didn't know, are the aptly named Sleepless Knights. These monsters, some of which are brand new and some of which I think are supposed to be the ones you'll see if you read the tie-ins, quickly swarm all over the building and take poor Red Tornado hostage, ripping him apart, before eventually threatening to do the same to Deadman and Sandman, as the comic comes to a close. And so that was Night Terrors issue number 2, everybody, and ultimately I feel about this issue almost exactly what I felt about the 2 that preceded it, and that is it's perfectly serviceable and perfectly good enough, but not so good that I'm getting overly excited about it. Again, I like the idea about giving characters like Sandman and Deadman the spotlight. They normally never get it, even if to do so, Boston Brand has to take over Batman's body so he can at least be in as many shots as possible. I am still not totally sold on Insomnia as a character, a villain, or a threat, but I do like how they're choosing to dole out information about what makes him tick in his backstory every issue. Also, if you're going to justify all the dozens of different tie-ins we're getting into this Night Terror series, then setting up that the entire world fell asleep and all the problems that that's going to cause is a pretty solid setup. It's just a shame that all the nightmares and all those tie-in books, at least for the ones I've read so far, have been pretty damn samey. Again, not a problem with the actual main storyline here, which I feel actually is honoring the horror tone pretty well. There's just something about Night Terrors that isn't clicking with me. Obviously, I'm still going to keep reading it and give it every chance in the world to change my mind, and I hope it does. Overall, though, I would give this one a 7.5 out of 10. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.